Hello, welcome to Bushel & Peck's first online tutorial. Today I'm going to show you how to make a home sign with a frame and a boxwood wreath. You'll know how to make it all by the end of the video. So just stay tuned and get ready to do some painting. We're going to have some fun. To create this project, you're going to need a 1 foot by 4 foot piece of board, and that's just going to be the backboard that we paint all the letters on. And then to create the frame around it, you're going to need some trim. My trim is about 2 inches by 4 foot. I use 2 of those. So I have 1 trim on this side and 1 trim on this side. And then I got another piece of that 2 inch by 4 foot trim that I cut to create the bottom piece. Cut? Did you just say we're going to have to cut something for this project? So the really great thing about going to Lowe's or Home Depot is that they will actually cut the wood for you. I didn't have to cut the backboard or the 2 pieces of trim, but I did end up having to cut this bottom piece of trim to make sure that it was the right width. So I will make sure to post in the comments below what those measurements are, so it'll be really easy for you to do. First, you need to lay your trim along the edges of the backboard. Then I just roughly measure the top and bottom pieces. It doesn't have to be perfect. We are going for a more rustic look. After your end pieces have been measured and cut, you can place the frame around the backboard. Next, just use some ribbed nails and start nailing everything down. After you finish your frame, it's time to paint in a darker color. I use the Onyx chalk paint from Michaels. The reason you want to paint it all a dark color first is because this is the color that's going to show through once you distress it white. And as always, don't forget the edges of your board. Everything needs to be painted in this darker color first. Once the darker distressing color underneath has completely dried, you want to paint your top coat. I'm using a Simply White chalk paint from Michaels. The most important thing is to make sure that the bottom coat has completely dried, or else you will end up with more of a gray wash look rather than a pure white. To distress the sign, I use a sanding block and a 100 grit piece of sandpaper. When you first start sanding, you really want to focus on the edges of the trim. This is where the wood would naturally receive the most wear and tear, and you want your piece to look like it was naturally aged. You also want to go against the wood grain, and that will really pick up distressing on the edges, and then finish by going with the wood grain. Also, don't forget to sand the backboard of the frame. This is where you'll be painting your letters. To make your stencils, you first need to design your template. I chose to design mine in Microsoft Word. I used Bakersfield Old Faced at 600 point font. Then you're going to have to print them, but you only want the outline. So to make your text an outline, select your text, and then right-click, scroll down to font, and then at the bottom, choose text effects. And make sure the text fill is no fill, but then you want the outline, so you're going to set that to a solid line. Close out all of the boxes, and now your text is an outline that you need for your stencil. Once you print your stencils, you will notice that you have a printed front side and a blank back side. With a pencil, you need to trace the letter that you see showing through. It doesn't have to be perfect, but anywhere the letter shows through, there needs to be pencil lead. Once you finish tracing, you now have a pencil side and a printed side. You need to lay the pencil side down against your sign so that the printed side is facing you. Finally, take a pen and trace the outline of your letter onto your sign. What you are actually doing is pressing the pencil lead down into the wood of your sign. Then when you lift off your stencil, you will see the pencil lead that you transferred into the wood. Using an angled brush, you want to paint your letters. The easiest way to do this is to let your wrist rest against the project and then just gently pull the paintbrush along the line. If you can color within the lines, you can paint within the lines. Don't be scared, you can do it. To make the wreath, you need a wooden wreath form and a sprig of boxwood. It doesn't matter which type of boxwood that you want to use, but you should double check that you can actually remove the individual sprigs of boxwood, because this is what we're going to be using to glue around our wreath form. After you've removed all the sprigs of boxwood, it's time to start gluing. Just place a little bit of glue on the end of each sprig and weave it into the wreath form. Take another piece of boxwood and you're going to do the same thing. Place some glue on the end of the sprig, but don't layer on top. Make sure to layer underneath the sprig that was there before, sticking it down into the wreath form, weaving it down, and then continuing in this fashion. As I'm layering the boxwood into the wreath, I'm first going to focus on just the top front section, then I'll focus on the sides and layer into the center. To mount the wreath, place the wreath on the sign, mark the spot, and hammer in your nail. And there you have it, a beautiful handmade home sign with a boxwood wreath and frame. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to like, share, and subscribe to my page, Bushel and a Peck Design.